In today's video, I'm taking this simple piano melody and orchestrating it for full orchestra. Join me in what is one of my most in-depth videos yet, and I'll show you my whole process. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I hope you enjoy this video as much as I did making it. So this opening section sounds like this. So I'm thinking quite kind of sparse, quite calm. Let's just load in violin 1 and we'll just have it as the melody here. Okay, so I might need to move some stuff around, but pretty much. So what we're going to have accompanying this melody, well, let's try something a bit ethereal. So let's try some flutes. So here I'm using BBC Symphony Orchestra from Spitfire, which I really like the sound of them. In fact, we could just try low flute chords. So this is the A3 patch. The thing with orchestration is you don't always have to use flutes where you expect them to be. Actually, have a real richness down here. Yeah, let's just try that for now. So I quite like that. I'm going to colour that now with some bassoons, but again, not playing way down low in the range. I'm trying to keep the chords quite kind of in the middle. They're just going to kind of add a bit of colour to it here. In fact, they might just play, bassoons can play up here. I mean, they might not thank you for it, but maybe we don't need it quite as high as that. In fact, I really like this bassoon A3, or all the A3 patches. They're very useful for this kind of thing, for just kind of filling out some chords. Yeah, they're going to play about there. So just those winds, let's just check that they're okay. Now, one thing for realism is we need to make sure that the winds breathe somewhere. So let's just hear the winds in their own. One breath still. So here, I think they would retake it. So I'm actually just going to split these and add a little gap, because I think that's going to make it sound a bit more real. Okay, so let's add some more string chords here. Now, let's go into this. Cinematic Studio Strings, Violin 2. But we're going to add it the second half of this. And same in the violas as well. So again, just adding a little bit of kind of etherealness to it in this string part. What we could do here also to add, just fill out the sound for the second time, is have the cellos playing the melody, but an octave lower. So. And maybe not the whole melody, maybe just the start of it. I actually quite like it the whole time there. That's a nice development. Okay, and then the basses. Maybe we're bringing in a bit too much too quickly, but they're going to hit one of these chords. This one. Oh, that wasn't recording. Damn. You might notice that the first time I did that, I did it the octave lower. But actually, basses sound great, not always in their lower range, and I'm trying to save that for later on. So it's just kind of highlighting this this last chord here. Just adding a tiny bit of kind of depth and weight to that bottom part there. Really, I'm trying to get it as right as I can first time. Okay, we need just a little bit of filler in here. Could even just be something as simple as an arpeggio in the clarinets. Let's see. These are a beautiful instrument, by the way. These are performance samples. They're Pacific Woodwinds clarinets 2. A2. I absolutely love them. Okay, and again, what that does is it's linking, kind of preparing the way for the high strings coming in. It's sort of dragging the sound upwards. That's really what I'm thinking of there. And it just kind of fills out the space a little bit here. And I don't care that it's not totally right rhythmically. This is meant to sound as live as possible. So really, if things aren't completely on the grid and it has that nice kind of ebb and flow to it, I'm not going to change anything. My coffee is going cold. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a marker now. So this is sort of, we know that this is the intro. just so I kind of keep it right, and then we're kind of arriving at the development. This development section starts like this. So that's the first phrase pretty much. It ends on this chord 4. Let's carry on with this melody in the cellos. Okay, so I've just gone through and really tried to pay as much attention to the kind of detail of it as possible. Okay, let's start kind of filling out what's going on around it now. So a really interesting thing that we can try and do is what's called a polyrhythmic texture. And this is where we have different rhythms going on in different parts to kind of create a sound that kind of confuses the ear, that kind of creates a wall of sound, a wash of sound. We're going to try that in the strings now just to kind of fill things out. So it's going to be quite kind of arpeggiated. Okay, so a bit of rhythmic things to sort out here. Okay, that's kind of cured that bit. And let's do exactly the same in violin 2 this time. So a kind of interlocking part. The violin ones, we're playing triplets, so violin 2 is going to play different rhythms, so we kind of create a different kind of texture. I'm really thinking about making the texture a bit busier here. And again, I'm going to add a little bit of shape to this. Just kind of surging through every kind of 2 bars, more or less. Where we have this this chord change here in the second half of this melody, we have 3 chords in 1 bar. This might be a nice place to add the horns for the first time. Let's load them in. So the horns that I'm using are Air and Venture Infinite Brass. We're going to fill out these chords just to fill out the sound and add a new colour. Okay, now the next notes. Okay, and finally horn 4. Okay, and let's add a little bit more kind of low brass. So let's just do the tuba first. Again, not super low. Again, what we're doing is starting fairly high. Let's just make them all legato. Again, this is Air and Venture. And I think it maybe goes a little bit high dynamically. Then thinking realism, a tuba player would absolutely breathe after this. Take a lot of breath. So we want it to sound as realistic as possible. Let's add in that breath. And this really helps the kind of definition of this chord, of this sequence here. Okay, and we're going to add in the basses doing the same thing as the tuba, so we can just copy that in, but we can get rid of that gap a little bit. What we're going to do also is we're going to have the violas fill out the chords as well with some chords, just to add a bit of colour. Again, just to this this one part. And that just helps kind of warm the sound, round the sound, and to make it sound like it's not just one section has one job, another section has another job. This is kind of linking the horns and the violas together. Okay, so I'm going to add one more layer to this kind of polyrhythmic texture. And again, we're going to go back up to the flutes and winds and all that kind of stuff. At the moment, everything's quite mid. Everything's sort of round about these middle couple of octaves. So I think we could do with some kind of brightness up in the top here, just highlighting the chords again. Okay, again, we can quantize all this. Actually, here I think this can afford to do something a little bit more rhythmically exciting. Do you know what? I'm actually going to start creating kind of like a flute 1 and a flute 2. Let's not be lazy with it. because that'll just make that flourish way more effective. So I'm going to create another flute part, which is playing the same but lower. So the first one started here. We're going to start like a third lower. And rhythmically do something maybe slightly different. The oboes are going to come in for the first time. They're going to help kind of support the flutes here. But much slower and a little bit lower as well. Oboe 2 will do same thing, but a little bit lower. Clarinet is going to do something like that, a little bit, just to fill out the sound again. And here, I think, is a place where we can definitely start adding some harp. It's becoming quite kind of French, this now, just this particular passage. So where we can kind of fake an arpeggio. Let's get the piano involved again, just to... Again, we're just thinking about kind of gesture and shape and build up this kind of surge of texture. I'm quite happy with how that's sounding. Let's just go from the beginning and just kind of recap. I've not listened to the first half of this for a while. One thing to say about this is that all of these signals are basically mono. If I was to play the strings and show you put the multimeter on it, and if I turn off the reverb, everything is basically mono. Because when I come to mix this, I'll put it in its place. Violin 1 is straight down the middle. My reason for this is so that I have lots of control over it later on. And it means that I can kind of check that things aren't kind of getting in the way of each other too much. Okay, so we're going to have development 2 now let's get some brass involved. I think the horns have kind of been tempted to come in, but let's have them in this next bit. Because it becomes it's actually, for the first time, the phrase starts in C minor, which feels like the home key. Well, it is the home key. So I think it's only right that the horns kind of come in a bit more triumphant here. So I'm just going to record all four together. That's quite a nice range for the horns as well. Let's just go and sort out all the mistakes that I made when I played that. Okay, time to bring in some trombones, just to fill out these chords again. So again, these are just going to fill out the kind of horn chords again. The bass is going to be in from the start here, but again, the basses don't always have to play super, super low. They can actually play quite high in the range. Now we return to what is kind of a repeat of the opening. Things becoming much more enervated. Because we're going to arrive at this chord. So this is really the build up to the climax. So we're going to mark this as build up. Not had trumpets yet, so let's bring in the trumpets. They're sort of highlighting that the texture, the timbre is changing, becoming a bit more strident, I suppose. Then that's us into the climax. Let's have the violins play this again. There's something really powerful about violins and trumpets playing together. Okay, and then at this point, violin 2 is going to play the same but down the octave. That really nice doubling. Big brass chords are coming up now. Let's just get them in. So trombones, horns, kind of interlocking sort of chords here. The horn's going to do a different role. Okay. Let's add some staccatos. Just again to add some sense of kind of forward motion to this. Okay, so now we can fill in some of the chords again in the low winds. We're not quite done with it. We're going to add some scales in the clarinets. Okay, and then piano and harp. Then harp again. I'm going to carry on and write this climax. I'll just play what it actually is going to sound like. So a repeat of the main material. Then we arrive at B flat. Then we'll come back. Then that'll be us pretty much done. But let's write this, what will be the loudest part of the piece. So let's get this melody in. First of all, we're going to do it in the violins, I think. Okay, I'm going to add in a scale here, I think. Okay, let's start doubling this up now. So really great doubling to do are cello and violins. Really simple doubling, but it's very powerful. So I already know that this bar 43 where the B flat comes in is going to be really important, and I want the trumpets to play this melody. Okay, we're going to have the violas kind of playing the chords. Okay, and then here it's going to do something a bit different. Okay, so like a horn counter melody coming up. Okay, we're going to fill out the chords with some trombone stuff here. Okay, we're going to fill out trumpet 2 here, playing below trumpet 1. Okay, some piccolo just to add some colour to this. So we're going to do something a bit more contrapuntal in here as well. Again, we're going to do the same here. Okay, let's add some basses to this. So I've saved a lot of the kind of really heavy bass stuff till this moment, really. Okay, I made a few errors in there. Let's go through and catch them now. Okay, and bassoons we're just going to use to fill out the chords again. Okay, so woodwinds, we're going to do some staccato-y kind of things. Okay, we're going to put this in the clarinets as well because I think that'll sound quite nice. add some more scales before it, just to lead into it. Okay, we're going to have the piccolo play this as well, but up the octave. Just to add some support to that higher material. Very close. Okay, harps and piano just to fill out the sound at the big B flat moment. Look at me practicing before I record. Okay, and then harp. This is the last thing in the climax. I'm just going to do these kind of spread chords. Trying to emulate what a real harpist would do, perhaps. Okay, we've finished with this climax. Now we're time for the outro, which is going to be the final section of this little piece. And we're returning to this opening material. Just recapping where we were. Then we're eventually gonna modulate back into C major. We started in C minor. We're gonna modulate into this. So here comes kind of the outro. Do you know what? I really like the sound of the horns. So we're gonna have the horn play this melody at the end, but it's gonna be all kind of an octave lower. Okay, let's put some chords around it. So we're going to go back to the celli, are just going to play some chords, as are the violas. Then we'll add in some harmony under here as well. Probably in the horns and the trombones. Okay, we're just going to have the harp kind of highlight the chords, really, just to add a just some spread chords there. I'm going to add this to solo bassoon as well. Just a nice doubling to have. Nice colour. And also the second part, I'm going to add the clarinets to it. Just because that's another nice kind of doubling to have. We're really just thinking about colour and doubling and just not every bar being exactly the same as the bar before it. Do you know what? Actually, low flutes would sound really beautiful here as well. Let's put them up the octave. Just as a nice colour. Okay, so the final thing we need to do is add a little bit more percussion. Something I'll always leave till the end, just so it doesn't kind of get in the way too much. So we've not added any percussion whatsoever. So timpani, bass drum, some tam-tam at some places. So I'm going to go through and do that now. Okay, so that's some percussion added. I may add some more later on. The last thing I'm going to do in this session, now that we've done all the inputting, we can afford to muck around with the tempo of this thing a little bit. At the moment, it's completely stuck in crotch equals 60 the whole way through, and it sounds very unnatural as a result. Orchestras, when they play, have a real natural ebb and flow. That's what I'm going to do just now, is just begin to make it sound a little bit more realistic, but a little bit more human. Particularly at the end of phrases is where I'm going to be making changes. So, for example, here, just at the end, I'm just going to take it down by like just a couple of points. Just to add that sense of it not being a computer playing it. This is where it does get a little bit programmy, but it's totally worth it. So, for example, a good example is before this development section comes in, there is more than likely going to be quite a big ritardando. And then I think actually when the development section begins, it's going to go up by a couple of beats. Just so it moves forward a little bit. Okay, for our first pass, I'm generally pretty happy with it. The only section that I think needs a bit of work is this brassy section, the development 2. it needs a little bit more forward movement in it. But I really hope you enjoyed seeing this process all the way through, from literally this piano sketch all the way through to this orchestral cue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the whole thing for you now. Obviously, this is totally unmixed. As I mentioned, everything is pretty much rendering to stereo, and it's all going through one reverb bus just now, so that the processing power of the computer is really just focusing on playback. And I will do the next video, we'll be mixing this, where obviously we put everything into the stereo field. Everything's kind of on top of each other. There's a lot of harsh frequencies, but this is how I've kind of learned to work with this. So let's open up the piano roll, and you can have a look and listen to the complete thing. So I really hope you enjoyed this video looking at how I go from this literal one-page sketch to this full orchestral score. If you've got any questions or comments, you can put them down below. I'll be happy to get back to you. You can find me on Discord as well. You can contact me directly there, and I'd be really happy to answer any questions or queries, criticisms, comments, anything that you have about this. I'd love to hear from you, and I hope you're enjoy this kind of longer form video, looking at my process. The next video is going to be me mixing this. This is totally one-dimensional. Everything is mono, and we're putting it in the space in this next video and creating that kind of 3D orchestra sound. So stay tuned for that one. It'll be coming up pretty soon because I'll be editing this very, very soon. While you're down there asking your questions, it'd be great if you could give us a little like, give us a subscribe. That'd be amazing. And I will see you for the next video. Hope you have a great day. Thanks so much for coming along. See you in the next one. Cheers.